Hello, honorable members of the clan. So guys, in this video, I may sound a little bit rigid, but I have to run it because I have a long trip ahead of me over the weekend, which is going to be a difficult weekend anyway. So I am busy batch filming, and I just remembered something as I am headed back home is that I am going to somewhat a chaos, but at the same time a wonderful gathering as well of family members, even though it's going to be sad at the same time. But there are those relatives that got these children that are just out of order. And when I say out of order, they are so out of order that they leave you going, You have to utilize every chakra that you have in your body and your spirituality and your relationship with God and ask, thou shalt not be tempted. I am a late Gen Xer, early millennial. That's the time where I was born. And I was brought up, of course, by a baby boomer. Now, the other day I mentioned some generational differeces and how I have my hopes on the Gen Xers and the Alpha Gen. And then I kind of gave exemption to Gen Xers. And the reason why I gave exemption to Gen Xers is because of the difficult times that we grew under. We were taking care of ourselves. And the baby boomers who gave birth to us still had the audacity to discipline us. And when I say discipline you, sometimes they will make you meet the wall for simply not responding when you are called the first time. I mean, to this very, my mom passed away in 2014. So let me just say up until 2014, and I think at that time I was around 30, 31. When she called me once, I still said, Ma. She never did it twice, not 3 times, because the third time when you come and you eventually come to her, you met this. And the question will be, didn't you hear me the first time? Every Gen Xer knows this. We all know this. Now, the part that I am having a difficulty with, which once again, guys, because South Africa, it is a country of religious people, particularly Christianity, that I grew under. So obviously most of my references are going to be based on the Bible, because that is the only thing I believe that disciplines our elderly citizens of this country. This is what makes people think. Sometimes they are defensive by trying to interpret what God was actually saying, because they are realizing that if I accept what you are saying, that means I have to lose. That is a Gen Xer mindset. Gen Xers don't like losing. Gen Xers do not like to be corrected either. And I'm not quite sure where did we learn that from. Defensiveness is our thing, but to our detriment, because today we are reaping what we sowed. I don't understand how we would be brought up under the circumstances that we were brought up in today. We are not the lost generation. We are so not lost. We know our way around everything. So much so that Gen Xers have even forgotten that all these things that the world is enjoying today is because of Gen Xers. Sometimes I would look at my nephews and my nieces and say, "Oh, uncle, you are too old for this. Let me show you how it's done." And I'll be looking at this little thing and I'm like, excuse me, do you know who invented this? A Gen Xer. We've given away our power to people that look back at us and say, but you're old, you don't understand. And you're like, no, it was created by my people. My people invented social media platforms. My people invented the iPhone. Well, it might have been the smart iPhone. You remember Steve Jobs? May he rest in peace. Do you remember him? Gen Xer. The computers, all these technologies that the young people throw at us as a way of saying, please don't do this. And you're like, no, I always remind my own youngins at home that, no, come here. Let me show you. We, the one who invented this. We, the ones who were cracking our heads because we come from an education system where you had to stretch your mind. That is why you have all these things that you are enjoying today. Yes, the baby boomers as well did invent a lot of things as well. But the digital revolution, that belongs to us, and we are not going to give it away, and you should not give it away either. But my talk today is not based on what we invented. Mine is more on the human beings that we brought onto this earth. And most of the Gen Xers probably, no, we are not parents of millennials. Maybe we are parents of the millennials, depending when you became a parent yourself, because some became parents at a very young age, and they gave birth to millennials, and I think this is where things started going down. I believe that every family, or families for that matter, we have a bubble. We have our own government and parliament and council and all that stuff that the government tries to penetrate and tell us how to raise our children. I don't have a problem with regulating the things that our offspring do that is wrong or against the public policy. Yes, the government can come in, discipline them by arresting, prosecuting, and convicting them. But it is our responsibility at home, because this kind of reminds me of a say that I always heard said by my mom. Whenever she would discipline you, she would say, well, I come from a school of thoughts, or I come from a generation where spoiling a rod spoils the child. And I'm not going to spoil you. If you are going to go against the rules of this roof, I am not going to spare the rod. Then I was like, wait a minute, but where did this come from? Because I've never heard any other parent, whenever they discipline their children, they would cite that. Then I had a look at it, and then I was like, oh no, it's actually in the Bible. It might not say spoil the rod spoils the child. No, spare the rod spoils the child. Basically meaning sparing. You know, when you do not use, that's what it means. When you spare, you don't use. So if you're not going to use the rod, basically a rod to me can mean two different things. It could be figurative, a metaphor, or it could be literal, like a real belt or again, when my mom used to, discipline me, at home we used to have a peach tree. Do you know a peach tree branch, how painful it is? She would say, go outside, go get yourself 2 of them. And I'm telling you, it was like walking the 8th mile. You know what an 8th mile is? Or the green mile. If you come from a country with the death penalty, wait, what is an 8 mile again in South African? Let's Google this. What is 8 miles in kilometers? Oh, it says 12 kilometers. Is that so? So basically, it's 12 kilometers, 12.8 kilometers. So that is your last 12.8 kilometers you will ever walk in your life. That is how it felt like when I went to collect myself the peach branch. And it must not be too wet or too dry. It must be somewhere in the middle. It must not be short or too long. It needs to be at the right length so that I could feel every lash. And there it breaks, because Mother Dearest did not spare this either. Oh, she did not spare this either. So in her head, she'll be like, oh, so you're making a fool of me and you're bringing a tree branch that is not going to prolong however long I want to discipline you. So she brought this, because she will say, oh, so you're a man now. So you're telling me your balls have become that hard? Okay, come. I'm sorry to use that, but that's how my mom used to say it. And now, like I said, it reminded me of a scripture Proverbs 13 verse 24. We all know that Proverbs in the Bible is the collection of wisdom and says, right? Because the word of God is the Bible, right? And this is what we're supposed to follow and also obey. And this is what it says. Whoever spares the rod hates their children, comma, but the one who loves their children is careful to discipline them. I was like, oh, Mother Dearest, that is where she took it from and was justifying it every time when I did something at school that I was not supposed to do, or something that I did at home that I was not supposed to do. You know, every single year when January started, I would pray to God, can I behave this year? Well, being a kid and curious kid as I was, and also asked a lot of questions, some people did not like it. And so they would complain to my mom. And my mom was like, oh, you're asking too many questions. Bang, 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 because you're making people uncomfortable. Right? Then there is another scripture, Exodus 20 verse 2. Honor your mother and father, that your days may be long in the land that the Lord your God is giving you. That means earth. Honor your mom and dad so that your days on earth will be long. Now, why am I saying all of these things? It's because at home, I'm not going to lie to you, some of my peers, not my peers per se, like the generations behind me, they grew up being spoiled. The rod was spared. Ask me where they are today. Because I will tell you what my mama told my brother and I, because she had 2 boys and 2 girls. She says, I'm a single mother. I am a woman. I have 2 boys, and they deserve to have a father. But the father decided to abscond and run away from his responsibilities. So now I have to be both your mom and dad. So, as your mother, who is not a man but also has to play the role of a father, should you ever decide to come out of the rules of this roof and the teachings of this roof, and decide to align yourself with bad people, and then those bad people influence you, and then the next thing the police are knocking on my door, I am not going to defend you. I'm not going to say not my son. Hey, I did not raise this son or this child to be like this. Just know the moment they put handcuffs on you after I've handed you over to them, you are dead to me. So now, let me tell you what happens when a person is dead. That's it. Out of sight, out of mind. And we are not spending even a cent on bail, let alone on visitations, as well as the prosecution period. I am not going to come at court houses. Nshishiliza ama bench, meaning, you know, when you're sitting in benches, you move like this. Ukshishilizaga that. She said, I'm not going to do that. Not for you, because I did not teach you and I did not send you to go do the nonsense that other children are doing. And you guess what she did after that talk with us? She whipped out a cane this time. It's like every time you think about getting naughty that could put you in trouble and in jail, remember these lashings. Because those are the only lashes I'm going to give you. And I want you to think about them. And her last words will be, if you're not going to listen to me, that means, you know, when you are now in jail and then you sit on the pan, the toilet pan, which all your cellmates can see, you'll be sitting there and you'll be regretting it. You will regret not listening to me as your mother, and you will regret for thinking that you know better than me as your mother, and your friends were right. My brother made a mistake, and I did share this story before, where he walked out of CNA without realizing that he's holding a CD with him, and the metal detector went off. He was arrested, and when he was arrested, we didn't know for 2 weeks where he was. However, what we did do though, my mom, was go to mortuaries, hospitals, everywhere that she could, get to know what happened to her son, because nobody told us that he was arrested until somebody that knew her that works at Johannesburg prison and said, hey, your son is at I saw your son. I'm not sure if it's him, but I think it's him. That's how we got to find out. When my mom found out, she was like I said, what do you think I was doing? I was seeing it happen with my own two eyes. Do you think I disobeyed my mom with anything that she said? No. I participated in everything that needed to be participated in so that I don't end my butt on the streets and also getting badly influenced. Child, I was even scared of taking a bud of cigarette and putting it between my lips and putting and puffing, because I thought it starts like that. I don't drink. Let me put it this way. I am an occasional drinker. That means 10 years can go by without me having touched alcohol. Why? Because I grew up with the mentality that it takes one glass, just one, for everything to fall apart. So I have relatives that are males whose parents used to defend them. It's one thing when you love your child, and then when your child does something wrong in the community, and then the community comes to you and say, listen, your child did X, Y, Z. And then in front of the child, you defend him or her. Hey, not my child. This child is not the... Instead of saying, you go in the house and then talk with the community. If you're going to defend the child with the child not there, because they are watching. They're like, oh, if I do it again, this one is going to defend me. And that is how you lose your child off your hands and hand them over to prison life. Whether that prison life is 6 months, because it becomes periodic. They will go to jail for 6 months, and then next thing they do something much bigger that's going to put them in jail for 2 years. They come out and they do something even bigger, because guess what? Jail is no longer a rehabilitation center. It is a university to learn even the hard cores of crimes. And then they work at your conscious mind and your conscience so that you do not feel anything for another human being. And the crimes get bigger and bigger and bigger, and then they end up serving life in prison. And let me tell you something that my mom said. When you are imprisoned, it's not just you who goes to prison. Do you know that? We were like, no, we don't know. No, that means I too am going to be in prison along with you, because every single week or every single month you expect me to come to prison carrying stuff for you so that inside you do not lose your life. You do not lose your virginity, if you know what I mean. That's what she said. So every single day I do not sleep because you are here. You are here. You are here. Even when I no longer want to get up at 3 in the morning so that I'll be at the prison at 5 so that I'll at least get to see you. And I saw that. I saw that when my half-brother was in prison. And I thought, let me just be a nice person. I went once and I never returned. I don't know what came over me to go and check him out. But I went once and I never went there again, because I realized what my mom was saying. Once you take that step, it's forever. And they know how to manipulate you. They know how to make you feel guilty. But at the end of the day, you have to go and ask yourself, at home, your mom, your dad, what did they teach? Obviously, my dad and his dad is the same person who chucked away, right? Because he also chucked away from his life too. So now you have to ask, but I know it's unfair to say this to already a woman that was abandoned with a human being to look after by herself. But what other disciplinary measures did she also instill in you type of situation? So now I'm going back and I'm going to see some that have been in jail. And I know they're not going to be talking to me, and I'll be glad if they didn't. Very glad. Because I will not be manipulated. I'm a Cancer, y'all. You know we are the masters of that shit. So, anyways, the point that I'm trying to make here is that the reason why we have so much of mayhem is because the rod has been spared, whether that is literally or figuratively. People now, if you complain about your child, hey, just a complaint, not you touching, because I grew up where they said it took a village to raise a child, and the community I come from, by the time my mom returned from work, I would have gotten some lashes from some parents in the neighborhood, and then when my mom came, she added her own. And sometimes she did not even want to hear what the story was. All she wants to know is, was my child involved? If they say, no, he wasn't shame, he was at home, I will still get a beating for that. To teach me that, you see what happened to them, this will happen to you too. Some people will say, oh, your mom was abusive. No, she was a single mother. She did not have all the tools in the world to make sure that she is raising upstanding, positively contributing children who are going to become adult and contributing members of society and the economy. Here I am today. And I'm not saying that I'm perfect, but one thing I can tell you, my mom did a damn good job. A very good job. 4 kids, well, the other one unfortunately passed away. The 3 of us, upstanding, we are adults and contributing positively into South African communities and society as well as economy. We bother nobody, we cause nobody harm or pain, we empathetic, we sympathize, and we also make sure that we are building a legacy for ourselves respectively. A whole single mother. That is why in my heart of hearts, I feel like South Africa needs to give a single mother the opportunity to lead this country, irrespective of what race she is, because those people, they know what hardship is. They know what abject poverty is. They know what a struggle is. They know also how to put disciplinary measures in place that are going to work and build this country. That is what I sometimes hope and pray for. But because we live in a patriarchy and misogyny. Yeah, my tongue does get tired, and I told you guys my brain runs very fast. If I don't catch up with it, I make mistakes with my words. Yeah, but because we live in that kind of society, and especially when you're a single mother, the disrespect, the stigmas, and it's usually perpetrated sometimes by the children or the products of single mother thinking. You forgot. You know why you forgot? Because some of them did spare the rod, and therefore you have no gratitude. You see nothing that they've done for you. Instead, you were ill-disciplined, disrespectful, and made sure that you caused her pain and she cried all the time. Of course, you're not going to see it. You will always see a man that ran away because you are chasing after that father figure. Always chasing after that father figure. He's not coming, and he'll never come, and he will never do anything for you because you are not his blood. Just know that. You are not his blood. So I'm saying to say this, that I don't know. Maybe we need to get back there. And again, when I say the word rod, I'm not meaning it literally these days. Because these days, the millennials have given birth to a different kind of breed. The one that will make you feel guilty about something about them. Oh, my mental health. And I'm not saying mental health does not exist, because we all need to maintain and protect and defend our peace of mind. But when your child, you send them to wash dishes, and then they look at you and say, you are triggering me. Triggering you on what? On what? You call a child these days more than once until you, the parent, get up and do it yourself. Why? Because you made the mistake of bringing machines in your house, like PlayStations. Because if you don't buy the PlayStation, you are triggering them. And as a result, you ask yourself, why is my son is a couch potato today as an adult? Why is my daughter having so many children by the time she's 21? Right? You spared the rod and the child got spoiled. God is not stupid when he said these words. Knew very well what he meant, because there are consequences when you spare the rod. I don't touch my nephews and nieces. You know how I discipline them? I have a corner, a library corner filled with books. And if I happen to call you more than once, you are going to go to that library corner. You're going to take a book of your choice, read it for as long as I want to keep you there. In most cases, I keep you there for 2 hours. You are not going to have a phone. You are not going to have a tablet. You're not going to watch TV. You're not going to listen to music. You don't have anything. We go all the way to the 1600s child. When you are done reading that book, you come back to me and tell me, what did you read? What did you understand of what you were reading? And what's the moral of the story you read? Now, I am doing multiple things in one. That is why my nephews and my nieces currently are the smartest children in their schools, respectively. Because I taught them how to use this while disciplining them. And when I call once, they stand up, run. Yes, uncle. They call me Malum. Yes, Malum. That's the type of rod I'm talking about, if it's metaphoric. But I have a cousin sister who uses the literal rod on her own children. I don't jump in and say, hi, Guanele, oh, it's enough. No. And today, her children are in university. The firstborn last year, this year. The secondborn doing second year, and the lastborn doing first year at university. The most disciplined kids you can ever come across. And she's a Gen Xer. So where did we lose our way? Because the government came and burst our family bubble and installed rules that themselves they can no longer handle. Not so long ago, the police commissioner of KwaZulu-Natal, Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi, looked at the crime statistics. 60,000 of hardcore criminals came from KwaZulu-Natal. 60,000 in 2023-2024. And he said about 56,000 of that 60,000 were black boys. And then I was like, listen, I get it. Some of these, and they're as young as 16, some of them. Young as 16, between the ages of 16 to 25. And you realize 16 to 25, in most cases, these are kids born by children. The same children that were supposed to be disciplined by their own parents are giving birth, and now they children who have not learned discipline from their young mother, father, or parents, because their own mothers of the grandmothers and grandfathers did not discipline their children, and as a result they gave birth to these criminals. And I'm not talking in general, I'm talking about the ones that Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi was talking about. That's the result of sparing the rod. You cannot fool God. God said things and gave you the tools, but you thought you were much better than that. Oh, I don't want to abuse my child. No, it's the government that poked into your bubble and installed things that are now troubling them and you. We need to talk about this, guys. I'm not saying now we need to talk about things that, I feel like when 1994 came, it took the bath water and the baby inside and tossed it. And now we are like, whoa, we made a mistake. We made a mistake in 1994. Do you think we'll be experiencing all that we're experiencing today, especially when it comes to crime? Especially when it comes to teenage pregnancy? Sometimes as far as the incurable diseases like HIV. Okay, no, let me not say it because YouTube is going to flag the video. Like that incurable disease that is transmitted through bodily fluids. Do you think we'll be in that situation today? I don't think so. I think we'll have a more highly educated society. Critical thinkers. People that will be participating in innovation. When last did we invent something in South Africa? When last? I'll tell you when last. When the Gen Xers still had a brain. We dropped the ball, guys. Gen Xers. All of this is because we dropped the ball. But then again, I don't blame us because when the government burst the family bubble, we were still teenagers and we were like, cool, I love this. I mean, I remember when the Constitution was distributed in schools, I learned later on that it was not all schools, particularly those in the townships and the rural areas. The government did not give you all the copy of the Constitution. While the former white schools, I'm sure some of y'all might even attest to this. We were given a copy of the Constitution, and every time when a teacher came with a ruler, we just whipped it out like this. You sure you want to do this, ma'am? That's where the ball was dropped. And because we grew up under now the constitutional era, and then we now becoming parents, we spare the rod. That's the problem that the government invaded and instilled in our society today. We need to talk about that. Do we reverse it? Or it is okay the way it is? Or we need to find a different way of disciplining our children so that we don't keep feeding grave sites or cemeteries and jails of our children. We need to think about this. We need to talk about it. And we need to amend the laws, repeal and amend, and then put in what is going to work for the society of South Africa. People get shocked. You don't have a child at your age? And that time you are only 19 years old. People literally get shocked at a 19-year-old without a child. I see this with my nieces. The ones that I'm telling you about are in university. You don't have children. People hold and clutch their pearls. You don't have a child at your age? You're like, hang on. She's still a child. Still a child. But you are shocked? Guys, we gotta do better. We gotta do better. Let's go get the ball we dropped, guys. Then let's go get it. Please, let's do that. Because I am not saying this. Most of y'all that are watching my channel are Christians. And this is not also to impose anything on you. All I'm saying is let's have food for thought. And let's think about things. How do we move forward as a nation? Is what the government instilled working for us when it comes to disciplining of our children, whether that is metaphorically or literally? Anyways, I thought let me come here and say something. I have a long way to go and a very long weekend. And I'll see y'all next time. Please don't leave the video without liking, sharing, commenting, and subscribing. Goodbye.